Hello and thank you for joining us on the Spin Room. I'm your host, Ami Kaufman. Our three spin doctors today are Haaretz columnist and member of its editorial board, Gidon Levy, journalist and columnist at Israel Hayom, Vital Shemesh, and author and lawyer, Ran Bar Yehoshaphat. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. Good to see you. Our three topics of discussion today with our esteemed panelists are a war of virgins between Israelis and Palestinians over the injury of a 15-year-old Palestinian boy. We'll then discuss the upcoming trip of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the United States amidst the legal woes that continue to dog him. And we'll end our discussion with the religious crisis in Jerusalem as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre remains closed to visitors and pilgrims. Okay, our first topic is another war of virgins between Israel and the Palestinians. 15-year-old Mohammed Tamimi, the cousin of the arrested slapping teen, 17-year-old Ahad Tamimi, suffers, according to his family, from a head injury after being shot by the Israeli army during a protest on December 15, 2017. The IDF, on the other hand, has claimed in a Facebook post today that the head injury was a farce and that Mohammed, who was detained in the middle of the night by the IDF, admitted during interrogations that he sustained the injury after falling off of his bicycle. Joining me now by Skype is Oded Yedaya from Jerusalem, who was in Nebi Saleh on December 15th, 2017. Oded, thank you very much for joining us. First, tell us what brought you to Nebi Saleh on that day, December 15th, 2017.
We have a bunch of Israelis are trying to go every week when there is a demonstration to help them to demonstrate what happened to be a big suffering, you know, because the army and the settlers taking their fields and taking their step by step.
Okay, so
they are demonstrating against it.
Okay, so you're there on one of these weekly protests at Nebi Saleh that we hear quite often about. But on that day, yes, on December 15th, what exactly did you see? Walk us through it. Did you see Muhammad before this injury? Did you see him after?
I don't come every week and I don't know every teenager in this village, but I come a lot. And on this day, which was a warm day after Trump Jerusalem, the army, instead of staying down at the road, protecting the settlement over there, they came all the way up and catched two houses in the top of the village, which made the villagers, everybody very angry, you know. So in one place, in one house, we are, all the adults, we run away because we don't want to suffer and we Israeli don't want to be arrested, you know. But a 15 years or 17-year-old girl go and slap the soldier because he catched her house.
Okay, but let's go back to Muhammad a second. Oded, let's just go back to Muhammad a second. Did you see Muhammad at any point during that day?
Yeah, I saw. Listen, I told you, I don't know. I recognize Jonathan Pollack is recognized every kid there because he almost lives there, you know. But I don't. I saw many kids that ran away. No one ran in bicycle during the demonstration, you know. And I saw many kids running through according to the other house, and I was with them, but I kept a distance. And all of a sudden, you know, an ambulance came from this house, you know, taking that kid, which is hardly injured, you know, and we stayed there until 8 o'clock all the night, trying to move him from Ramallah hospital because it was a danger for his life, to Israeli hospital.
Okay.
So now not allows them to go to Israeli hospital, and then saying that the doctor in Ramallah hospital is lying and there is no bullet that was taken out, is the kind of lies that you have to slap the Israeli spokesman, you know.
Well, let's not Oded, let's refrain from slapping people. We've done enough of that. There are people claiming that this is a classic example of Palestinian fabrication. That's what a lot of people on Twitter are saying, and I think even the head of Kogat said that today. How did you feel when you saw that? What's your reaction to that?
I saw it's a perfect example of not a Palestinian story, but how the army is lying for 50 years, you know.
Okay.
They just take the land step by step, and they don't mean, not the army and not the Israeli government, to go to any solution to that. And they keep lying day by day.
Okay. Oded Yedaya, you were at the you were there in Nabi Saleh on December 15th. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Spin Room. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to our panelists here in studio. I'll keep it simple. Who do we believe? Right.
What I think is interesting is that some people like to say that the IDF is guilty before there was a trial. I have to tell you, I personally usually believe the IDF, the Bollywood industry is a gigantic industry of lies.
Explain what Bollywood is, just for our viewers who don't know what that word is.
It's Arabs of Judea and Samaria or Gaza pretending something happened and making a video out of it, and then you find out that the person that was shot and killed is actually an actor.
It's a wordplay between Palestinians and Hollywood.
Palestinians and Hollywood, yes. Okay. So the Bollywood industry is a very big industry. It's very interesting to me to see that some Israelis like to say that the IDF is guilty before anything was investigated.
How big an industry is it? I mean, you say it's an industry. What does it mean? They're making money out of it?
The whole structure of violent protesters trying to do some sort of demonstration in front of the IDF, they're not going to achieve anything. What is it that they will achieve is world media. So the whole thing is staged to begin with. You have media coverage about the whole incident. So
not only that, not only that they're framing situations, they're also using, for example, pictures from Syria saying, look, this is what's happening in Gaza. Literally spreading false pictures.
Let's go back to this case of Mohammed Tamimi. And when you look at the pictures, and we brought them up, and you see the fractured skull, gunshot, bicycle wound.
I have to tell you, at the end of the day, I don't know what happened there. I do know that this kid was under investigation, both of Israeli police and Palestinian police, and this is his testimony. He said, "This is what happened to me. I fell from my bicycles and I got injured."
Is it not problematic, by the way, to take testimony from a 15-year-old when he's arrested in the middle of the night, and according to his attorney, he was without an adult or a member of his family present? Is that
I don't know exactly what was the situation of the investigation.
You don't know. What's your take on this?
I refuse to participate in this discussion. It is so disgusting. It is so low. It is so cheap. I don't want to take part in it. I've been to Mohammed Tamimi's home a few days after his injury. I saw him, I saw the medical reports. I'm not part of this propaganda.
The propaganda of the Israeli army.
Absolutely. And I talked today to an Israeli general, and we both agree.
Who is this?
No, I can't tell you.
Okay, but it's a current...
Yes.
Okay, what did he say?
Absolutely.
What did he say?
Because don't forget that Kogat is not part of the army. It's part of the Ministry of Defense.
But what did that general say?
But in any case, I told him I'm ashamed in such an army that publishes things without checking them at all. And he tended to agree, believe me. I can't say more than this.
What's your response to that?
Well, it's amazing because some people like to publish stuff before they verify it, and I think that Haaretz paper is one of those organizations like to say stuff before it was investigated. Now, I'm trying to understand, before there was an investigation, people know better. The Tamimi family are a family that supports terror. Ahed Tamimi has openly said that she's supporting violent acts against Israelis and against the IDF. This is not an innocent family that was attacked by Israeli forces. And I'm not saying that one side is right and the other side is wrong. I'm just trying to understand, how can one judge without a thorough investigation? And if one chooses a side...
Isn't that what the Poli Mordechai, the head of Kogat, did today? He just said, out of the blue,
they're still trying to. They're still trying to make
he was pretty definite about it in his Facebook post.
They were just publishing what the kid said in the investigation. That's all.
Well, wait a minute. No, Vital. He said on Facebook that this is Bollywood.
Okay, but if the kid, hold on, if the kid himself admits that he was injured because of a bicycle accident.
All right, let's move on. I want to talk a little about the...
I mean, I remember the times in which we were laughing at the Egyptian and Syrian propaganda in the 60s and the 70s. Israel is getting lower now than Egypt and Syria in the 70s. It's getting so low that you can just laugh.
Amazing. I wonder if anyone in Syria in the 70s would be able to say something against the Syrians or the Egyptians like we are able to do so in Israel. Like you have an Israeli coming to show another perspective. So I doubt if the Israeli democratic pluralistic discussion is even remotely close to anything of these countries.
It is ridiculous, just a ridiculous discussion, but really ridiculous of ignorant people.
Okay, when we come back, more with Ran Bar Yoshafat, Lital Shemesh, and Gidon Levy. Stay with us.
Americans have simply lost trust in news media.
What happened to the news? All I get is a daily serving of lies.
Do your job and just tell me the news. I am overloaded with news that is useless.
Give me the facts. Let me sort it out.
Where's the integrity?
Why is the news so biased? I will never trust the media.
Unflinching, opinionated. Weeknights, David Schuster and Shayna Estulin bring you analysis, interviews, and opinions that connect us to the Middle East and the world. Watch Crossroads weeknight starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on I-24 News.
We're back on the Spin Room with Lital Shemesh, Ran Bar Yoshavat, and Gidon Levy. Lital, I want to go back to you. You know, you've been very active in Hasbara, what's known as Israeli PR, public relations, trying to explain the Israeli narrative.
Propaganda in Hebrew. The right name is propaganda.
Okay. You can respond to that as well. But does a story like this, with the images especially, hurt Israel?
Obviously it hurts Israel, but at the end of the day, the damage has been done before, as Ran said, before the facts even were checked. So we see time and time again, and you have to understand the pure facts of a small, tiny country fighting all those countries around us, spreading lies constantly about what is happening in Israel, sending money, funding NGOs, paying children to go and provoke IDF soldiers so they can spread more and more videos against the IDF. So we need to face all of that in the war.
Are you saying that Ahad
images.
Tamimi was paid to?
I don't know if Ahad Tamimi was paid, but I can tell you that from the time that I was serving as an IDF soldier.
And what's your response to what Gidon said, that Hasbara is basically propaganda?
He can say whatever he wants. I think he's doing exactly the opposite against Israel.
What's he doing?
Building a career of bashing Israel everywhere he can, but okay. That's his point of view on life.
How else can you call Hasbara if not propaganda? It's just a polished name for propaganda, and it's legitimate.
Because we're not allowed to tell
is propaganda. I mean, every country is trying to explain itself through propaganda. Israel is doing more in propaganda, other countries are doing less, but by the end of the day, it is propaganda.
Okay, because we're not allowed to tell our story, our narrative, our
if it's based on facts, yeah, but if it's based on so many lies, it's just propaganda. But
You've
it's okay.
decided that it's lies.
Syria and Egypt had also propaganda in the 60s and 70s, and we were all laughing.
Okay, I want to move on to our next topic. That is Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who will be traveling this Saturday to the United States to meet with President Donald Trump and also speak at the annual AIPAC Policy Conference. But the day before he boards that plane, he will be investigated by police on two separate cases. Case 3000, involving suspected corruption in Israel's purchase of submarines from Germany, and Case 4000, connected to suspicions of corruption involving Israel's largest telecommunications company, Bezeq, and the communications mystery. Ron, what do you think we can expect from this U.S. trip? Could the president now demand some payback maybe after the announcement on the move of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem on May 14th? There are certain people, I think, that are fearful that the administration might want something in return.
What do you mean want something in return? Why is it not in Americans' interest? And I'm not really sure how that is connected to Netanyahu's situation currently. I think that America would benefit from moving its embassy to Jerusalem. First of all, it would be cheaper for the taxpayer of America because right now they have to have another facility in Tel Aviv. And second of all, I think it will put America again as the leading nation in the world.
Lital, what do you think about this?
It was also one of Trump's, thing that he said to his voters, that's what I'm going to do. So it's also benefiting Trump at the end of the day to show that he is strong, to show that he's supporting Jerusalem, to show that he's supporting Israel. So it's important for both sides.
I want to say, if you're a hawkish Israeli, that should be good for you, because right now what Trump is saying is that now the Palestinian side knows that they might lose something, it might push them to the table. If you're from the dovish side of the political map, you should say the same. So it's supposed to bring peace closer together, not further apart. So I'm trying to understand, why would anyone oppose the concept of Americans acknowledging the basic fact that Jerusalem is the undivided capital of the state of Israel?
Gidon, do you think Trump might ask or demand something for Israelis in return for all these carrots that he's giving?
I doubt it very much, even though he's unexpected. I doubt it very much because why would he? Why would he? I mean, he declared what we always knew, that the United States is supporting blindly and automatically the Israeli occupation. He just declared it. The other presidents before him tried to save face and to pay some lip services to peace and ending the occupation. They never meant it. He's the one who says the truth. We are supporting the occupier and only the occupier. Why would he pay anything?
And on the other side, Abbas, I mean, the Americans really pushing the Palestinians against the wall, and Abbas is, totally excluding himself and the Palestinians from ties with the U.S. as well as Israel. Do you think they have any other options, or is this the right course to go? Is this the right course for them to take diplomatically?
They have no other.
They have no other option.
Right now, they just have to wait for better times. They're isolated.
But it could be like what Ron is saying, that it might get worse and worse and worse. Maybe they should...
Many times you have to get worse in order to get better.
I was going to say, it's so condescending. What? Because they are Arabs, they cannot behave differently? They can act like normal nations that are trying to reach out for peace. They're not obligated to become violent when the United States declares its embassy. The United States has the right to declare wherever its embassy should be, number one. Number two, it has nothing to do with the disputed territory of Judea and Samaria, because it's actually located in the western part of Jerusalem, so it doesn't affect it at all. And number three, you kind of contradicted yourself, because you said that the Americans are always supporting the occupying power, but then you said that, he changed something that the other presidents have done. I'm very happy with Trump's move so far. I think it's only natural, and I think it should be good for both sides.
I think the Palestinians also understand that, the clock is ticking. They're losing the support of all the countries around them. They're losing the support of the Arab world, and I truly think that this step of Trump is gonna make a change.
But isn't the clock ticking also not in favor of Israel, when it's ticking away towards against, for example, the two-state solution, which is, some people agree, might say it's even dead, it never even existed, and it's ticking towards a one-state outcome, which might be the end.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with the one-state solution?
Well, I don't know. Will everybody get equal rights in that one-state solution?
As far as I'm concerned, everyone who is a citizen of that state and should be a citizen of that state would be...
Even if it means a majority of Palestinians?
I disagree with that fact. I don't see how that will become. And if that's the issue, if the only concept here is demographics and 3 million Jews from the states will make Aliyah, will that solve so we can annex Judea and Samaria?
3 million Jews are going to come to solve the demographic problem?
No, I'm just saying, if your argument is that we're very concerned because of demographics...
Well, I don't have an argument. I'm just saying I know the numbers. Most demographers, say that there's about 50% of Jews and non-Jews between the river and the sea.
When Israel was created in 1948, the percentage was 55 Jews, 45 Arabs. Even if there are 2.5 million Arabs in Judea and Samaria, not 1.5 like other people estimate, you still have a vast majority Jewish country.
Gidon?
I don't understand how it's a vast majority, but those people can say everything. There are 6 million Jews and 6 million Palestinians between the river and the Mediterranean. All the rest is rubbish.
Let me ask you this. Some Palestinian organizations are calling for demonstrations now after this recent announcement, and there's been a spike in violence since the first announcement in December about moving the embassy. Are we heading, do you think, to a major cycle of violence, Lital?
I don't think we need to look at life every second on how is the Palestinians going to react. Are we going to get attacks? Are we going to get terror attacks? This is not the way to look on the situation in Israel. We cannot be threatened by terror time and time again. This is not the game that we should play.
And if I may add, for the past 70 months, I've been following the Shin Bet's reports. There
the security services.
Yes, they're on average between 100 to 200 terror attacks per month. So number one, they're always trying to attack us. It hasn't stopped, at least for the past more than 5 years that I've been checking this. Secondly, should I change the way I act because someone is going to threaten he's going to use violence against me? I don't think that's relevant for any state, any nation, any human beings, any society in the world. I have the right to live my life the way I want to and I'm not going to be scared because someone else is going to use violence.
Really quickly, 20 seconds.
Yeah, and if I may add, we've been fighting our war of independence since I remember myself. War with Iraq, war with Syria, war with Lebanon, terror attacks from the Palestinian Authority, rockets from Hamas, from Gaza. This is our day-to-day lives.
All right, we have to go for a quick break, commercial break. When we come back, more with Gidon Levy, Ran Bar Yehoshafat, and Lital Shemesh. Stick around.
becoming increasingly connected. 6.5 million Wi-Fi enabled devices are now shipping every day. And global consumer internet traffic is growing exponentially, with 2.8 billion internet users consuming video at a breathtaking rate. We are creating personalized mobile entertainment and communications breakthroughs that are connecting millions of people and billions of devices around the globe. We are Eris, and we're powering your digital world.
Politics, economics, business, and technology. Get the real news and the real insight about what's happening around the world. Michelle McCory breaks down the top stories of the day from the Middle East to the U.S. Weeknights beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern. News 24 is a Spanish-language weekly news magazine on I-24 News, presented by respected journalists Carlos Gurovich and Damian Pachter, bringing you news and analysis of the most important issues of the Middle East and Israel, with the added perspective of the impact on the Spanish-speaking world. News 24, Fridays only on I-24 News.
In the Holy Land, there are wonders most people never get to see. I-24 News will take you inside the shadows and unravel the secrets of some of the world's most revered sites in a way you've never experienced. All access from every angle. Tune in to Sacred Sites 360, Sunday 9 p.m. Eastern, only on I-24 News.
We are back on the Spin Room with Ran Bar Yoshafat, Lital Shemesh, and Gidon Levy, and we're moving on to our last topic, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, believed by many to have been built at the site of Jesus' burial, remained closed for a third day as Christian leaders protested against Israeli tax measures and a controversial bill that would allow expropriation of lands sold by churches to private real estate firms in recent years. Let's talk to Jordana Miller of I-24 News, who is outside the church now. Jordana, thanks for joining us. Israel reversed its course today, didn't it? What happened?
That's right. Israel basically backtracked and said that it will now cancel plans it had to collect those back taxes, almost $200 million worth of them. Also saying that they will put on hold the bill that was being drafted in the parliament that would allow the government to expropriate, to basically confiscate lands that the church had sold to private firms. They say now, Israel says it will set up committees to discuss the issue and negotiate with church leaders. The announcement is expected to lead to the reopening of the church here, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. But church officials, I spoke to them earlier today, they are still waiting to hear more of the details in this change of course by Israel. And after some talks, they say they'll make a decision about opening the church. Real different stories being told on both sides. The Greek Orthodox Church said that they didn't understand why suddenly the priests started to get bills on this tax policy. They were not informed about the tax policy. They didn't feel it was equally applied, for example, to institutions that are related to synagogues here in the Old City. But then the mayor disputing that in a written statement to I-24 News, saying that, no, this is a tax applied equally. But then one wonders why suddenly the church was getting taxed for back pay in such high amounts. So it's still unclear exactly what happened here with the tax.
Yeah, very, very high amounts, almost like $200 million, I think, that they're asking for. But like you said, you spoke to officials at the church, and I'm wondering what the timeline might be, if they might open the doors soon. And also, have you seen pilgrims there that are, frustrated? They were surprised. They didn't know that the doors were shut, and they're angry. They're sad.
Absolutely. The Greek Orthodox Church officials told me that they are heartened by the Israeli reversal. They are in talks with them, and they hope to reopen the church possibly as soon as tomorrow morning. I did have a chance to talk with a number of pilgrims, one woman in particular from Canada who said that she has waited her whole life to come here to the church, to go into this holy spot, and she was so disappointed. She's come every morning for 3 days in a row, and she says she won't give up. She She's here in the Holy Land for another week, and she'll keep coming until she can get inside. Behind me, you can see that some pilgrims are actually holding services right at the ancient doors, kneeling there in prayer and in silence and in song, doing whatever they can to get as close to this holy spot.
Okay, Jordana Miller joining us from Jerusalem. Thank you very much. You know, as if Israel, isn't suffering enough from Jewish-Muslim tensions in Jerusalem, now it also needs this big Christian problem in its hands. What do you think of this?
So there are two different topics. One is the bill, and the other is the taxation.
You're right. Two different topics. That's right.
The taxation issue is this: if there's a synagogue, and above the synagogue you have a Beit Midrash, a schooling house, the upper floor will pay taxes. So it's a very simple. Legal issue. It's very simple.
But suddenly to drop almost $200 million, I mean,
well,
come on,
it also
in back taxes.
It also happened to many Jewish facilities that people thought were only places to pray.
Yeah.
But eventually they learned there were other activities there. So that's a very simple legal question.
Right.
There's also a diplomatic question saying how much should the state of Israel reach out and solve this in a more peaceful manner. I really feel bad for all of the people who came here to go and visit their holy sites, and I hope it will be solved very fast. The bill itself, I have to say, I'm against it. I think it's a bad bill.
Yeah.
But just so people understand, the people who are damaged here are not it's not the Greek Orthodox Church, it's the third party who actually purchased that land. I'm against. I believe that the government should not have done that, but we need to be on the same page here.
I want to go back to we didn't get to talk about before about the legal woes of the Prime Minister and just ahead of his trip to AIPAC. Lital, do you think the Prime Minister has the bandwidth, the state of mind to make critical decisions in his current legal state? Shouldn't he step down?
I think you can't decide that someone is guilty before the court will or the police will.
I'm not saying he's guilty. I mean, the Prime Minister himself said 10 years ago about Ehud Olmert when he was under investigation that he should step down.
If he would have felt that he cannot function, he would have taken a step down. But I think that at the moment it's a crucial time.
So it's for him to decide.
Yes.
But it's also okay for other people, like in the opposition, to demand it. Isn't it correct for them to demand it?
They're in the opposition. Obviously, they're trying to take him down for years now. So.
Okay, what do you think, Gidon?
I think that it's problematic only because we will always suspect. Whatever he will do from now on, there will be a suspicion about his motives. And nobody can clarify those suspicions. If he will bomb now, if he will not bomb, if he will go to AIPAC, if he will not go to AIPAC, we will always suspect, because you cannot separate. I mean, don't tell me that you can separate. By the end of the day, the main thing that bothers this man now is his survival and how will he get out of all those files. And therefore, it's by definition unheard of that someone who is so deep in investigation, and maybe he will come out totally clean. And by the way, I'm not one of those who just waits for him to fall, because I see the alternative, which is not any better by any means. Therefore, for me, it's not, my friends, the lefties, they just dream about the moment he will not be there. I'm not one of them.
Wrap it up for us in 30 seconds. Won't every decision that he makes now will have this shadow over it?
I disagree. I don't think that every decision that he'll make. I actually think it's a very cynical and sad statement to say that he's going to risk the lives of Israelis because he is right now under certain risk because of the court. I think that if he's guilty, he should go to jail. If he's not, let him have his day in court. And I trust, you can like him or you can dislike him, but he's right now our most prominent politician.
All right. That is all the time we have. I want to thank our panelists, Lital Shemesh, Ran Bar Yoshafat, and Gidon Levy. Thank you very much for joining us.